Hey guys, thought I'd do a quick video on my go-kart. So I got this used last year, yeah, so I just got it because I recently got a welder, and I thought I would get a go-kart because I thought that'd be kind of fun. So just kind of a basic frame here. You can see that's kind of what the steering setup looks like. And it was a one-wheel drive, but I converted it to two-wheel drive. I'll talk about that a little bit later. It's got this engine here from Princess Auto. It's 196cc. It's basically a Predator 212 with the stage 1 kit, so you can see it has the intake, the exhaust, and a new carburetor jet as well. Haven't removed the governor yet, but it's okay for now. I think there's a bypass in place. So I'll talk about some of the mods that I did. So one of the first ones that I did was this steering wheel here. So this one is from like a PC, like a steering wheel and pedal set. So I got it off a broken one that wasn't working, and I decided to put it in place because I thought it looked pretty cool. So if we take off this cover here, we can see what I did is this white part here is actually 3D printed. So I basically found out the size and everything that the steering wheel was, and I printed this adapter so that this half-inch bar can go in place, and then that just basically slides down into this shaft here, which is what does the actual steering. It's held in with this bolt there. That's so that I can take off the steering wheel, make it a bit easier to transport. And you can see that there's a big wood screw in place, which is what holds the half-inch rod from turning with respect to the wheel. So I think the next thing that I did was that I'm a pretty tall guy, so the pedals were a bit too close for my liking. So I moved the seat back a little bit. So basically what I did is I cut out the seat. It was originally a bit further up, maybe around there. So I cut through those welds and re-welded them on my own. No, my welding isn't great. It's just a stick welder, and I'm still learning. So they look pretty bad, but I mean, it holds in place well enough, so that's okay. And then the next thing that I had to do was that when the seat back was in place, these two like little side ear things, they didn't quite line up. So you can see I actually had to cut them out. There's one, there's the other, and I basically slid this back a little bit and welded that in place as well. Next mod, there was a big metal plate on here right above the back axle, and the engine was really held up quite a bit further. It was maybe another 10 centimeters higher or so, and I took that out just to lower the center of gravity and to reduce the weight. Next thing I did was I changed what the front bumper looked like. So originally it was more of a U-shaped piece, and the pedals were located here and there. So I moved this to use a 1-inch square section, and I put the flat bar across so that that way I can extend the pedals a little bit further, make it a bit more comfortable to use. And in doing that, I had to extend the brake rod as well. So basically cut it in half and re-welded this piece in, which I think is a 1/4 inch rod. And these welds are really bad, so I'm gonna have to redo them at some point, but I mean, it holds well enough for now. And actually at the moment there aren't even any brakes installed, so I mean, I don't really use brakes anyways, just always go fast. And I think that brings us to the final big modification that I did, which was converting this to a live axle. So originally what happened is these wheels here, they're suspended on bearings. You can see it over there, and there's one on the inside as well. So originally this axle here did not spin. It was about 1 inch across, and it was welded directly to the frame. So this wheel here was on bearings, and so is that wheel there. And this one here has a little flange that you can bolt the sprocket and the brake drum to. And that was powered by the engine. Now that's all fine, but of course one wheel being powered, that's like half the total amount of traction you could have. So I wanted to power the second one as well. So what I decided to do was get this bar, or this tubing over here, which has a 3/4 inch outer diameter and a 1/16 wall thickness. So that means it's a 5/8 inner diameter, which is exactly the size of the nuts that the wheels go onto. So I got a 5/8 threaded rod, put it in place, drilled a couple holes in the 3/4, and basically welded it together. So after that, I got 2 of these pillow block bearings over here. You can see there's one, there's the other. Those have a 3/4 inch diameter, and what I did is I basically put this new axle in place, and now it's held in by the bearings. And to hold the bearings to the frame, you can probably see there's a little 1-inch square section, and there's another one too, just because it's pretty hard to bolt to the round tubing. So I got these 2 1-inch square sections, just long enough to hold the bearing in place, and I welded them to the frame. Here you can see some of the welds. There's nothing at the top yet, but there's a bunch of stuff at the bottom. Let's see if I can get that. Yeah, there you go. And same on the other side. It was just a bit more difficult to get in place. Yeah. And yeah, that's it. And then it just uses a couple of these 1/2-inch bolts that hold it in place. I didn't actually have any bolts, so it's just threaded rod and 1 nut that's welded on and another nut on top. But yeah, that holds the bearing in place pretty well. And then to power the other wheel, you can see what I did here. So we originally had the wheel, and what I did was I took this plate here, this back one, I welded that in place to the wheel. You can see some of the bad welds over here, but strong enough to hold it in place, so that's fine. And I drilled 2 holes in it, actually 3. One in the middle for the axle to go through, and then 2 on the outsides, which you can see over here is for a 1/2-inch threaded rod. It doesn't actually need to be threaded because the wheel's held on anyways by the nut back there. So if I were to do it again, I'd probably just use like a regular 1/2-inch bar without any threads. And on the axle, I welded this plate in place. You can see those welds there that hold this plate to the axle. Put 2 holes in it, and they fit right over the threaded rods that are attached to the wheel. So now this wheel is locked to the axle. And what's actually really cool is that if I want to convert this go-kart to 1-wheel drive again, all I have to do is take out that nut, flip the wheel around like this, so that way these rods are actually on the other side, and there's nothing to transfer the torque between the axle and the wheel. And since the wheel's on bearings, it'll be a 1-wheel drive. And on this side, to get the power over there, let's see if I can get this. Yeah, there you go. So you can see the 4 nuts that hold the sprocket and the brake drum in place. And here you can see there's the axle, and there's another plate that I welded in place. A couple tack welds all around, and I put a couple holes in it so that they could be held on by the nuts there. And you can see I haven't tightened them down yet, but that's okay because either way it's held on by that nut there at the end. So yeah, that's pretty much my go-kart. I'm pretty proud of how well this works. Now, usually most live axle go-kart kits, they use a 1-inch axle, but I figured that the 3/4 should hold up. And I mean, it works fine. You know, I can jump on it all I want, and hasn't bent yet. I did some rough calculations, and it should hold my weight. So and I've tested it. Yeah, it works. So I guess the next step is just install the brakes in place. Thanks.